In the hustle and bustle of modern life, happiness often feels like a fleeting dream, a spark that quickly fades in the face of stress, responsibilities, and endless pursuits. But what if the key to lasting happiness has been with us all along, quietly waiting to be discovered in the timeless wisdom of Buddhism? Buddhism, with its ancient teachings, offers profound insights into the nature of happiness and fulfillment. It doesn't promise an easy path but guides us toward inner peace through self-discovery, mindfulness, and compassion. In this exploration, we'll uncover 7 transformative secrets inspired by Buddhist philosophy that can help you navigate life's challenges and cultivate a sense of true contentment. These lessons are more than mere philosophical concepts, they're practical and deeply relevant to our daily lives. Through relatable examples, personal reflections, and actionable steps, you'll see how these principles can shift your perspective and reshape the way you experience life. So, stay with me as we embark on this journey. Whether you're seeking clarity, peace, or simply a new way of approaching happiness, these teachings can illuminate the path. Together, let's discover not just how to be happy, but how to live with purpose, gratitude, and a profound sense of joy. Great! Here's the continuation with the first secret. Underscore 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 underscore. Secret 1: Happiness is an inside job. In our pursuit of happiness, we often look outward, to possessions, relationships, achievements, and circumstances. But Buddhism teaches us a fundamental truth: true happiness comes from within. It's not something we can grasp or hold, it's a state of being that arises when we let go of attachments and embrace the present moment. The teaching. The Buddha once said, "Peace comes from within. Do not seek it without." This profound statement reminds us that external conditions may offer temporary pleasure, but lasting happiness is rooted in our mindset and inner peace. A story to reflect on. Imagine a man carrying a heavy sack of stones. He complains about how burdensome his life is, how difficult each step feels. A monk approaches and gently asks, "Why don't you put the sack down?" The man is startled, realizing for the first time that he has the power to let go. This story symbolizes the unnecessary burdens we carry: resentments, regrets, fears, and desires. When we cling to these, we weigh ourselves down. But when we release them, we find lightness and freedom. Personal insight. I remember a time when I was chasing external validation, whether through work accomplishments or the approval of others. It felt rewarding initially, but the joy never lasted. I realized I was relying on factors I couldn't control. It wasn't until I began practicing mindfulness and self-compassion that I discovered the profound sense of peace that comes from within. Practical application. Start with gratitude. Take 5 minutes each day to reflect on what you're grateful for. This simple practice shifts your focus from lack to abundance. Release the burdens. Identify one negative thought or belief you've been holding onto and ask yourself, is this serving me? If not, visualize letting it go. Be present, spend a few minutes observing your breath. Each inhale and exhale anchors you in the here and now, where happiness resides. Secret 2: Embrace impermanence. Life is in constant motion. From the seasons to our emotions, everything changes. While this truth can feel unsettling, Buddhism reveals it as the key to liberation. The principle of impermanence, or anicca, teaches us to flow with life rather than resist it. The teaching. The Buddha said, "All conditioned things are impermanent." When one sees this with wisdom, one turns away from suffering. This wisdom reminds us that clinging to what is temporary, be it joy, pain, possessions, or even relationships, leads to suffering. Acceptance of impermanence, on the other hand, sets us free. A story to reflect on. In a village long ago, a wise king asked his advisors for a phrase that would always hold true, in both joy and sorrow. After much thought, they presented him with the words, "This too shall pass." When the king was overjoyed, these words humbled him, reminding him that happiness is fleeting. And in moments of despair, the phrase comforted him, promising that pain would also fade. This simple truth is a cornerstone of Buddhist wisdom. Everything is transient, and therein lies the beauty of life. Personal insight. I once struggled with change, particularly when a close friendship ended. I resisted the reality, holding on to what once was. But through meditation, I came to accept the transient nature of all things. It wasn't easy, but it brought me peace and a deeper appreciation for the time we did share. Now, I see change not as an ending but as an opportunity for growth. Practical application. Practice detachment, start small. Observe your attachment to a daily ritual, like your morning coffee. Ask yourself, what happens if I don't have this? This builds resilience to impermanence. Let go of perfection, accept that no moment or situation will ever be perfect. Find joy in the imperfections. Reflect on change. At the end of each day, list 3 things that changed, no matter how small. This trains your mind to embrace impermanence as a natural part of life. Secret 3, cultivate mindfulness. In a world buzzing with distractions, mindfulness is your anchor. It's about living fully in the present moment, not lost in the past or worrying about the future. The Buddha taught that mindfulness, sati, is the foundation for clarity, peace, and freedom from suffering. The teaching. The Buddha famously said, "Do not dwell in the past, do not dream of the future, concentrate the mind on the present moment." This teaching emphasizes that the present is the only moment we truly have. By practicing mindfulness, we can experience life more deeply. It allows us to respond rather than react, to observe rather than judge, and to appreciate the simplicity of being alive. A story to reflect on. There is a story of a Zen monk who was chased by a tiger. He came to a cliff, and as he climbed down, he saw another tiger waiting below. Clinging to a vine, he noticed a strawberry growing nearby. Instead of panicking, the monk plucked the strawberry and savored its sweetness. This story illustrates the power of mindfulness. Even in dire situations, focusing on the present can reveal moments of beauty and peace. Personal insight. I used to spend hours worrying about the future, replaying what-if scenarios in my head. But mindfulness helped me break this cycle. I began with small practices, like focusing on my breath during moments of stress. Over time, this habit grew into a way of living. For example, I now pause before meals to appreciate the food in front of me, the colors, smells, and the effort it took to prepare it. These moments of mindfulness have brought a sense of gratitude and calm to my everyday life. Practical application. Start with the breath. Take 5 deep breaths right now, focusing only on the sensation of air entering and leaving your body. This simple practice can ground you instantly. Engage your senses. When drinking tea, notice its warmth, aroma, and taste. Or while walking, feel the ground under your feet. Pause before reacting. The next time you feel anger or frustration, pause. Take a moment to observe your emotions without acting on them. This can transform how you respond. Mindfulness is not about perfect focus but about returning to the present each time your mind wanders. With consistent practice, it becomes a powerful tool for cultivating peace and clarity. Secret 4, practice non-attachment. Non-attachment, or letting go, is one of the core teachings of Buddhism. The Buddha taught that clinging, whether to material things, people, or ideas, creates suffering. By releasing this attachment, we free ourselves to live a life of true peace and joy. The teaching. The Buddha explained in the Dhammapada, from craving arises sorrow, from craving arises fear. If a man is free from craving, he is free from sorrow and fear. This teaching highlights that our attachment to desires, possessions, and even our own identities binds us to suffering. Non-attachment doesn't mean indifference or giving up everything. Instead, it's about cultivating a mindset that allows us to appreciate things without being overly dependent on them. A story to reflect on. There's a famous Buddhist parable about two monks, one young and one old, traveling together. They came to a river where they met a woman who couldn't cross. The older monk carried her on his back to the other side. Hours later, the young monk, visibly upset, said, "How could you carry her? We're not supposed to touch women." The older monk smiled and replied, "I put her down at the riverbank. Why are you still carrying her?" This story illustrates how attachment to ideas or judgments can weigh us down. Letting go, whether of a physical burden or a mental one, frees us to move forward. Personal insight. I used to cling tightly to the idea of success. I equated my self-worth with achievements, constantly chasing milestones. But this attachment often left me feeling unfulfilled, as no accomplishment ever felt like enough. Through Buddhist teachings, I began to practice non-attachment, not by giving up my goals, but by changing my relationship with them. I learned to pursue my dreams without tying my happiness to the outcome. For example, when creating content for my YouTube channel, now focus on the process, the joy of writing and sharing insights, rather than obsessing over views or likes. This shift has brought a sense of freedom and deeper satisfaction. Practical application. Reflect on impermanence. Remember that everything in life is temporary, your possessions, relationships, and even emotions. This awareness helps loosen the grip of attachment. Simplify your life, declutter your physical and mental space. Let go of items, commitments, or beliefs that no longer serve you. Embrace gratitude, appreciate what you have without the fear of losing it. Gratitude turns your focus away from what you lack. Non-attachment is not about rejecting the world but engaging with it more wisely. It allows you to experience life's beauty without becoming trapped by its fleeting nature. Secret 5, cultivate compassion and loving kindness. Compassion, karuna, and loving kindness, metta, are central to Buddhist teachings. These qualities encourage us to connect deeply with others, recognize their struggles, and respond with genuine care. The Buddha taught that cultivating these virtues not only benefits others but also nurtures our own inner peace and happiness. The teaching. The Buddha said, "Hatred does not cease by hatred, but only by love, this is the eternal rule." This profound teaching reminds us that compassion and loving kindness have the power to heal conflicts, both within and around us. They create harmony and dissolve the barriers of anger, resentment, and indifference. The practice of metta bhavana, loving kindness meditation, is a key way to cultivate these qualities. In this meditation, one extends wishes of happiness and well-being to oneself, loved ones, neutral people, and even those they struggle to forgive. A story to reflect on. One day, a young monk approached the Buddha, troubled by feelings of anger toward a fellow monk. The Buddha asked, "If someone gives you a gift and you do not accept it, to whom does the gift belong?" The monk replied, "It still belongs to the giver." The Buddha explained, "In the same way, if you do not accept another's anger or hatred, it remains with them. Respond instead with loving kindness." This story demonstrates the transformative power of compassion. Rather than absorbing negativity, we can choose to respond with warmth and understanding, breaking the cycle of conflict. Personal insight. I once had a challenging relationship with a colleague who often criticized my work unfairly. Initially, I felt anger and resentment. However, inspired by Buddhist teachings, I began practicing loving-kindness meditation. I silently wished them happiness and peace, even when their actions frustrated me. Over time, I noticed a shift, not only in how I felt but also in how we interacted. My genuine kindness seemed to soften their behavior, proving that compassion can transform relationships. Practical application. 1. Practice loving-kindness meditation. Take a few minutes daily to wish happiness and peace for yourself, loved ones, and even those who challenge you. Repeat phrases like, "May they be happy," May they be free from suffering. 2. Perform small acts of kindness, help someone in need, listen to a friend, or simply smile at a stranger. These acts cultivate compassion in your daily life. 3. Respond, don't react. When faced with anger or negativity, pause and remind yourself of the Buddha's teaching. Choose compassion over retaliation. 4. Empathy in action, put yourself in others' shoes. Understanding their struggles can help dissolve judgment and foster connection. By practicing compassion and loving kindness, you not only spread positivity but also create a ripple effect of peace and harmony in the world. Secret 6. Embrace the power of letting go. Letting go, or upekkha, equanimity, is one of the hardest yet most liberating practices in Buddhism. The Buddha emphasized the importance of releasing attachments, not just to material possessions but also to emotions, expectations, and outcomes. When we hold on too tightly, we create suffering for ourselves. Letting go is not about indifference, it is about freedom. The teaching. The Buddha taught, you only lose what you cling to. This teaching reminds us that clinging creates suffering, while releasing brings peace. Whether it's attachment to success, relationships, or even our own self-image, letting go helps us move through life with grace and acceptance. Letting go also applies to our inner burdens, grudges, regrets, and fears. Carrying these is like holding on to a burning coal, it hurts us more than anyone else. Releasing them allows us to heal and move forward. A story to reflect on. There is a well-known Buddhist story of two monks traveling together. At one point, they come across a river where a woman needs help crossing. Although monks were forbidden from touching women, one monk carries her across the river. Later, as they continue their journey, the other monk expresses his disapproval, saying, "You broke the rules by carrying that woman." The first monk replies calmly, "I set her down at the riverbank hours ago. Why are you still carrying her?" This story illustrates how clinging to the past, whether it's anger, guilt, or judgment, only burdens us. Letting go allows us to move forward unencumbered. Personal insight. I once struggled with a deep disappointment when a close friend let me down. I held on to the hurt for months, replaying the situation in my mind. Eventually, I realized that my attachment to the pain was preventing me from finding peace. Inspired by the Buddha's teachings, I wrote a letter to my friend, not to send but to express my feelings and release them. That act of letting go felt like a weight lifted from my heart, allowing me to move forward with compassion and clarity. Practical application. 1. Release emotional baggage, reflect on what you're holding on to, anger, regret, or fear. Acknowledge it, and consciously decide to let it go. Journaling or meditation can help. 2. Practice non-attachment, appreciate life's moments without clinging to them. Whether it's joy or sorrow, remind yourself, this too shall pass. 3. Declutter your life, start with physical objects. Letting go of unused items can help cultivate a mindset of release, which extends to emotions and habits. 4. Forgive yourself and others. Forgiveness doesn't mean condoning actions but releasing the hold they have on your heart. Say to yourself, I choose peace over pain. Letting go is a practice, not a one-time act. With each step, you'll feel lighter, freer, and more attuned to the present moment. Secret 7. Cultivate loving kindness, metta. At the heart of Buddhist practice is the cultivation of metta, or loving kindness. This is the practice of extending unconditional love and goodwill to yourself and others, regardless of circumstances. Loving kindness is a transformative force that dissolves anger, heals relationships, and fosters inner peace. The teaching. The Buddha taught. Just as a mother would protect her only child with her life, even so, cultivate a boundless heart toward all beings. This teaching encourages us to love selflessly and universally, transcending barriers of race, religion, or personal differences. When we cultivate metta, we develop an open heart capable of understanding, compassion, and forgiveness. A story to reflect on. In one of the Buddha's discourses, he tells a story about a monk who was struggling with anger. The monk encountered people who insulted and ridiculed him during his alms round. Frustrated, the monk returned to the Buddha for guidance. The Buddha advised him, if someone gives you a gift and you do not accept it, to whom does the gift belong? Likewise, if others offer you anger and you refuse to accept it, it remains theirs and does not become yours. This story teaches that practicing loving kindness helps us rise above anger and negativity. By responding with compassion rather than retaliation, we free ourselves from the cycle of suffering. Personal insight. I used to struggle with self-criticism, often speaking harshly to myself in moments of failure. Over time, I realized that I was treating myself in a way I would never treat a friend. Inspired by the metta meditation practice, I began repeating loving phrases to myself. May I be happy. May I be healthy. May I be free from suffering. This simple habit gradually softened my inner dialogue. It taught me that loving kindness must begin with how we treat ourselves. Only then can we truly extend it to others. Practical application. 1. Practice loving kindness meditation. Find a quiet space, close your eyes, and silently repeat phrases like, "Oh, may I be happy. May I be healthy. May I live with ease." Gradually extend these wishes to loved ones, acquaintances, and even those you find difficult to love. 2. Respond with compassion. When faced with conflict, pause and ask yourself, how can I respond in a way that reduces suffering? 3. Perform acts of kindness. Small gestures, like helping a neighbor or offering a kind word, can make a significant impact. 4. Forgive yourself and others. Understand that everyone is doing their best with the knowledge they have. Let forgiveness replace resentment. Practicing metta is a lifelong journey, but each step brings you closer to embodying the boundless compassion the Buddha taught. Secret 8. Embrace simplicity and contentment. In a world that often equates happiness with accumulation, the Buddha's teachings remind us of the profound joy that comes from simplicity and contentment. This secret encourages us to shift our focus from external possessions to internal peace, cultivating gratitude for what we already have. The teaching. The Buddha once said, "Contentment is the greatest wealth." This wisdom challenges the relentless pursuit of more possessions, more achievements, more recognition. Instead, the Buddha invites us to see that true wealth lies in appreciating the present moment and being satisfied with life as it is. A story to reflect on. There is a well-known parable of a wealthy man who approached the Buddha seeking happiness. The man had everything, palaces, gold, servants, but he was consumed by anxiety and dissatisfaction. The Buddha asked him, if a person is thirsty and continues drinking salty water, will their thirst be quenched? The man replied, no, it will only make them thirstier. The Buddha explained, likewise, worldly desires are like salty water. The more you chase them, the more dissatisfied you become. Contentment arises when you stop chasing and start appreciating. Personal insight. I remember a period in my life when I was constantly striving for the next big achievement, earning a promotion, buying a new gadget, planning elaborate vacations. While these moments brought temporary joy, I always felt an underlying sense of emptiness. One day, I decided to try a simple exercise inspired by Buddhist teachings. Each evening, I listed 3 things I was grateful for, no matter how small, like a kind smile, a cup of tea, or a beautiful sunset. Over time, this practice shifted my perspective. I realized that joy isn't found in extraordinary moments but in appreciating the ordinary ones. Practical application. 1. Simplify your life. Declutter your physical and mental space. Let go of possessions or commitments that no longer serve you. 2. Practice gratitude daily. At the end of each day, write down or reflect on 3 things you are thankful for. 3. Set clear intentions. Focus on what truly matters to you, whether it's meaningful relationships, health, or personal growth, and let go of distractions. 4. Avoid comparison. resist the urge to measure your life against others. Remember, contentment is an internal state, not an external competition. 5. Engage with nature, spend time outdoors, appreciating the simplicity and beauty of the natural world. By embracing simplicity and cultivating contentment, you unlock the ability to find peace in any situation, just as the Buddha taught. Secret 9. Develop compassion and loving kindness. The Buddha placed great emphasis on the practice of metta, loving kindness, and compassion. This secret reveals that to achieve inner peace, we must cultivate compassion for ourselves and others. By doing so, we create a deep connection with all living beings, transforming our hearts and our relationships. The teaching. The Buddha taught, "May all beings be happy, may all beings be without disease. May all beings experience the sensation of auspiciousness. May nobody suffer in any way." This is the essence of loving kindness, a wish for all beings, without exception, to be free from suffering and to live with joy and peace. Compassion, in this light, is the genuine desire to alleviate suffering wherever it is found. A story to reflect on. One day, a monk approached the Buddha, asking, "Master, how can we cultivate compassion?" The Buddha smiled and replied, "Imagine that you are walking through a forest and you encounter an injured bird. What would you do?" The monk responded, "I would help it, of course, tending to its wounds and providing it with care." The Buddha nodded, "Likewise, you should approach all beings with the same mindset. See them as you would see the injured bird, worthy of your compassion and care, regardless of their condition or circumstances." Personal insight. Compassion can be one of the most powerful forces in our lives. I remember a time when I was dealing with a difficult personal challenge. I was angry and frustrated with the situation, and this negativity was only adding to my suffering. Then, I decided to reflect on the Buddha's teachings about compassion, particularly toward myself. Instead of condemning myself for not handling things perfectly, I chose to be kind to myself. I recognized that it was okay to feel pain and struggle, and that I deserved love and understanding through it. This shift in mindset helped me heal, and I could then extend the same compassion to others. Practical application. 1. Practice loving-kindness meditation. Spend time each day silently wishing well for yourself and others. Start with yourself, then expand to loved ones, neutral people, and even those you may have conflict with. 2. Be present for others. In your interactions, listen without judgment, offer support, and be a source of peace for those around you. 3. Offer acts of kindness. Look for opportunities each day to help others, whether through a kind word, a small gesture, or offering your time. 4. Extend compassion to yourself. Practice self-compassion by being gentle with yourself in moments of difficulty. Treat yourself as you would a dear friend. 5. See the humanity in others. When confronted with negative behavior, remind yourself that others, too, are suffering in their own way. This helps prevent anger and fosters understanding. When you embrace compassion and loving kindness, you begin to heal not only yourself but also those around you, building a more harmonious and peaceful world. Secret 10. Let go of attachment and desire. The Buddha's final and most profound secret to ending suffering revolves around the nature of attachment. Attachment to people, possessions, ideas, and even identities causes immense suffering. This secret teaches that true freedom and peace come from letting go of the attachments that bind us to the cycle of craving and dissatisfaction. The teaching. The Buddha said, "The root of suffering is attachment." Attachment, in Buddhist philosophy, refers not just to clinging to material things, but to our deep emotional investments in outcomes, relationships, and self-image. When we cling to these things, we are bound to experience disappointment, loss, and suffering when they change or fade away. This doesn't mean we must detach ourselves from life or relationships entirely, but rather, we must cultivate a non-attached mindset, enjoying life fully but not becoming overly invested in any one thing. A story to reflect on. One day, a disciple approached the Buddha, distressed by his inability to let go of his possessions. He asked, "Master, how can I stop desiring things?" The Buddha responded with a simple parable. A man was walking through the forest, and he came upon a beautiful flower. He was so enchanted by its beauty that he picked it and held it tightly in his hand. As he walked, the flower began to wither, and the man's heart grew heavy with sorrow. He mourned its passing and wished it could remain fresh forever. But as he looked around, he noticed the forest was full of blooming flowers, each more beautiful than the one he had picked. The Buddha continued, "Just as the man clung to the flower, we cling to things, people, and experiences. When they fade or change, we suffer. But if we release our hold and accept the transient nature of all things, we will find peace." Personal insight. In my own life, I have experienced how attachments can cause deep pain. I remember a time when I was holding on to a particular relationship, convinced that if I didn't hold on tightly, I would lose it forever. The more I grasped, the more I suffered, as the relationship became strained and distant. One day, I decided to release my attachment to the outcome. I allowed myself to accept whatever would come, whether we grew closer or further apart. That release created space for the relationship to either grow naturally or for me to find peace in its absence. Eventually, I found peace, regardless of the result, and I could see the situation more clearly without the cloud of desire and fear. Practical application. 1. Practice mindfulness of impermanence. Remind yourself daily that everything in life is temporary: joys, sorrows, possessions, and relationships. This awareness helps you release attachment and embrace the present moment. 2. Examine your attachments. Reflect on what you are clinging to, whether it's a possession, a goal, a relationship, or a specific identity. Ask yourself how this attachment is affecting your peace of mind. 3. Embrace the present moment. Focus on the present without worrying about the past or future. By fully engaging with the here and now, you can appreciate life as it is, without clinging to any one aspect. 4. Let go of the need for control. Recognize that you cannot control everything. Surrendering the need for control over people and situations allows for greater peace and less suffering. 5. Cultivate gratitude and contentment. Instead of constantly desiring more, focus on appreciating what you have right now. Practice contentment by recognizing the value in the present moment. Letting go of attachment is not about rejecting the world, but rather about embracing it with a sense of freedom and acceptance. By releasing our clinging, we create space for true peace to flourish. Conclusion: the path to ending suffering. The Buddha's teachings on ending suffering provide a profound roadmap for living a life of peace and freedom. By following these 10 secrets, finding stillness, cultivating mindfulness, living with purpose, embracing impermanence, understanding our true nature, transcending desires, letting go of anger, nurturing compassion, and releasing attachments, we can unlock the potential for lasting happiness. Each of these secrets offers a pathway toward healing and peace, not just for ourselves, but for all beings. As we walk this path, we begin to embody the qualities of the Buddha: wisdom, compassion, and equanimity. Final reflection. I encourage you to take time each day to reflect on these teachings and integrate them into your life. Start small, maybe with mindful breathing, a daily meditation practice, or an intention to practice kindness. As you begin to apply these principles, you will notice a gradual shift toward greater peace, not just in your mind, but in your relationships and your interactions with the world around you. May you find the peace that comes from living in harmony with the teachings of the Buddha.